to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Rabe? Delby?
Here.
Armstrong?
Here.
Davis? Here. Sones? Lane?
Here.
And Mayor Richardson.
Present. See if we get the two others up online.
Mayor, can we take like a 5-second break? We lost Teams for some reason.
Okay.
So if you guys can hear us, we're gonna have to stop and come back in. So 1 second, please.
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Pull those out?
It has to. The highway didn't
That
have
was
a drop
Monday.
call. It's crying
Put them
crazy.
both together, I think it was.
I'm gonna say Monday. Watch. Don't like he had his moments.
Trivia.
Yeah.
Make an Indianola trip.
Councilmember Sones or Councilmember Rape, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, it's cool.
Not Indianola.
Councilmember Sones, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Is Dre back on as well?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Thank you.
okay.
I've got you both marked present.
Okay, we're both present. Perfect, thank you very much. Okay. I've got two Mayor's Youth Council members here. Would you please stand up and introduce yourselves, please?
I'm Leah, I'm a senior. I'm Alana, I'm also senior.
Last names, please.
Oh, Leah Hartford,
Thank you,
Alana Moser.
thank you. Jackie has to get that down for us, so thank you.
Oh,
All right, we have opportunity here for public comment. Anybody would like to speak on any topic before the council? 3 minutes if there's anybody here to speak. Seeing none, we shall move forward. On the consent agenda, Bob, you had something you wanted to pull on that, is that correct?
Yes, we'll see the minutes of prior meeting from our study session.
Okay. Any other things we want to pull here?
The big ones that I'm out. Let me see if mine's in there.
Josh or Melissa, we okay with the consent agenda?
I'm good.
Approval of claims, I had a question on.
Okay, so you want to pull B then?
Yep.
So we're pulling B and C then, correct? I take a motion for approval of all items on the consent agenda with the exception of items B and C.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Rabe?
Aye.
Delby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Motion carries 6-0. We're on to approval of the claims. May I take a motion to approve?
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
And your question, Councilmember Davis.
Yes. So I just had, there was 2 spots on the claims I had questions on. Fuel costs, do we know, is that done by receipt or is that like mileage reimbursement? It just seems quite a bit higher than when we went through the county. I'm just wondering what that's,
On that one?
I believe it was Quick
Start.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep, that's, we have a contract with Quick Star. They provide 15 cents off per gallon and don't charge us, tax on that one.
Okay.
And so that's all of our vehicles there.
Okay, which I might answer my own question in this question, but, and Allison's here, brick gentry, it seems quite a bit higher than fiscal year 2025, the 6 month. I didn't know if that's due to with the litigations and things that have popped up or what.
My guess is that it is due to the changeover in
oversight, like so adding Aaron and I onto that, there is some amount of time that is incurred getting up to speed and taking over that stuff. I do believe also with fully on board with how staff is run it, I do believe we've had more things are being run by legal counsel, by current staff, which is also appreciated. It's easier on the front end than the back end, so I think that there has been an increase in that. So that would be my guess. I don't know of any major litigation that would have been Brick Gentry, would have had Brick Gentry involved. Most of your major litigation would be through ICAP.
Okay, so really just those changes.
A lot of times, if I may, just for verification too, when we have a change in staff, a lot of times, and there's review of the policies and go back and look at things, a lot of times we ask council then to revise those policies and review them, and we've had a number of those lately, so that's part of it too. Any other questions from anybody?
Do we feel like that is, I know you mentioned more questions are going through legal counsel, which I mean, covers us in the long run, but also do we think that's something that time that we need to start looking at that's going to be higher in the future so that we budget that in?
I think if the practice is going to remain the same, that I would, yes, recommend that we budget that in. If we're going to be reviewing more, we're gonna cost more.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm wondering with budget,
Right.
okay. Let's see, I don't know if that was more one time or not, but it seems like, I mean, at the rate that was provided with, just for that amount, it seems like, I mean, at that point, we can employ a full-time attorney on staff, the way it's looking. With the money spent, I'm not saying we need to do that, I'm just saying the funds right now
I
projected.
think one thing to consider with that too is if you hire an attorney on staff, they're going to not have as the breadth of experience. So when you have a firm like Brick Gentry, we can go with them with stormwater questions, contract questions, personnel matters, all of those different things. So when you employ a firm, you get all that expertise, whereas if you have one attorney who's assigned to you, often there's going to be gaps in their legal knowledge. So you're probably going to end up contracting with other firms to kind of make up those gaps. A couple other things just kind of for context too is we also had some additional expenses with the IPIB items that we had gone through, and then also we've been incurring a lot of expense with unionization, collective bargaining. So there's been a number of additional groups that have been forming that process, and there's a lot of legwork that's gone on from Aaron's side as well as Matt Brick with just different paperwork that needs to be drafted, notices and things of that nature. So part of those expenses are also tied to some additional staff looking at the collective bargaining process.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I would also note that, like, in addition to just advising staff and counsel, we also handle all of your simple misdemeanor prosecutions and below that are written under city code. So we're here for those. Your municipal infraction prosecutions, we're here for those. So, if you had just staff, they might not have the litigation experience or the prosecution experience that our office also provides. So we're here, quite frankly, we're here a lot. So, but yeah, so I think that all probably wraps into it.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any further questions? Jackie, please call the roll.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. We're on to the approval of the minutes. Bob, you had some questions there.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to amend the minutes from the meeting of last week, the study session on the 12th.
Points do you need to amend?
It says I was not in attendance. I was late because I had the IMU board meeting.
I think it says later in there
Did
when
it?
you did arrive. Let me.
I read
I know
through
she had
that.
it in one draft. Let's
It
make
does.
sure.
Councilmember Lane
Does
is
it?
meeting at 6:18 p.m.
Okay, because I read at the beginning and then I must have read through it.
Oh, would you change that to, rather than to amend the motion?
Just approve.
Just approve, motion to approve, okay. Got a motion to approve, do you have a second?
So First, second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Rabe,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Davis. Sones.
Aye.
Lane.
Got a little bit ahead of myself there. Jake, do you want to just kind of run through quickly though what we did approve then on the, agenda, on the consent agenda?
Sure can. So starting with item D, setting dates for future public hearings. Number one, resolution for Monday, February 2nd regarding amendment to chapter 16510 zoning. This pertains to sign regulations. Number two, resolution public hearing on Monday, February 2nd, 2026, regarding chapter 17005 and 17005, well, two different sections of 17005. This pertains to the process for final plat consideration by city council, as well as preliminary plat notification procedures. Item E, approval of applications, consideration of the approval of a liquor license renewal, doing business as Spirits World. The renewal has a current expiration date of January 22nd. Staff have reviewed the application as well as inspected the premise. Item F, resolution approving amendment number one to the professional services agreement with HR Green Incorporated for the South C Street sanitary sewer improvements. This would increase our contract by them to a cost not to exceed $10,500 for acquiring temporary construction easements. There are sufficient funds available in the sewer budget to cover this expense. As I mentioned, it would be a cost not to exceed number, so we would only pay for the amount of services that were used. Item G, authorizing amendment or authorizing a memorandum of agreement with Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance for project administration. Also a contract for MIPA for grant administration services to ensure compliance with federal requirements and mitigate city staff's workload as it relates to the electric vehicle charging station grant. That grant does include $3,500 for administration expenses, which would be used to cover MIPA's fees for administering that grant on our behalf. Item H, resolution approving payment application number 16, the amount of $88,303.23 to Vanderpool Construction, final project acceptance and release of retainage for the East Hillcrest Avenue reconstruction project. Council approval of that final payment application. It would accept the improvements and it would release the retainage. Snyder did complete field observation and found the project to be 100% complete. The project did come in about $11,000 under the contract amount. Item I, a resolution authorizing the certification of liens to Warren County Treasurer for the purposes of assessing the cost of nuisance abatement against property. This would allow those liens to go against those properties that have not paid their nuisance abatements, which was being requested. Those are for a mixture of sidewalk replacements, junk hauling, and snow removal items. Item J, consideration of approval of Home-Based Iowa Initiative application from Billy Reagan and authorization of a handwritten warrant in the amount of $1,500. All parameters were met in place, but did come with the recommended exception of the veteran submitting the application in person. In this situation, the application was submitted by their wife due to some medical challenges that individual was facing, and staff did recommend that waiver be granted. Item K, approving of urban revitalization designations, was tax abatement for 3 properties. And then L, resolution approving salaries, was for a couple of IWC part-time positions.
Thank you. Any council committee reports?
Go ahead,
On
Melissa.
the- I'm sorry, on the consent agenda, I just want to say thank you to the contractors on the East Hillcrest project. It's finally at completion and everything's accepted now. So just another shout out to everyone that worked on it. It's an improvement in infrastructure that was delivered to our community, an upgrade that will allow for the development that has occurred and will continue to occur in that corridor. So again, thank you to everyone who's worked hard to make that happen, including the prior council.
Okay, thank you. Bob, you had some?
Yeah, I have just an update from an IMU meeting that I attended as I spoke of earlier. They acknowledged Chris Longer, obviously, as she's about to retire. They received the November 25 financial report, and Mr. Shaw reported that the first 5 months, he said that'd be about 42% of the year. Saw nothing unusual about their financial situation, and he said, you know, there's some play in the numbers as far as some items are up, some are down, but overall, he thought things looked in good shape. It was reported that electric usage is up a little bit, and so the revenue's up this year. Water revenue is down. which was interesting, but they think the reason the water usage is down is due to a couple commercial accounts that weren't in business, and the one they pointed out that hit me right away was the car wash that's just north of Burger King there on Jefferson. Said they think was one of the key players in that. They talked about what would counter some of that was a year ago there were 14 main breaks that needed repair. This current year, 32. So they said that would offset what could have been some of the loss of water, but yet you don't make money on some of the, obviously the main breaks. They discussed their regular meeting schedule with the combined electric, water, and communications groups, possibly going to once a month, and voted on that. They plan on doing that. They said it's too early to give a report on the solar impact, but right now everybody seems pleased with it, and they're hopeful that the solar usage will help cover any increase they may need to make in rates. And so they still are very excited about that, and thanked everyone who was able to work on that project as well as attend the celebration and the ribbon cutting. They said due to the weather, other than what we're having today, they talked about with some of the warm weather we have had, they've been able to do more outside work. Said it's one of the few times they ever remember pouring concrete in January with some of those main breaks that they had. They're still putting in new drops actually for fiber because of the weather. And then finally, Chris Desplanks provided a budget projection for some of 26 and 27. We'll have some final figures for them before they have their public hearing.
Thank you.
I got to tour that facility today,
Did you?
and it was, that's awesome. If you haven't done that, I highly encourage. It's fascinating.
Any other council committee reports? I just have a couple of items here real briefly. I was on the Legislative Policy Committee of the Iowa League of Cities on Friday. There were two.
Mayor, if
Yes.
I may, I think we missed the treasurer's report.
We did miss the treasurer's report. Thank you. Let's, any questions on the treasurer's report? If not, let's take a motion to approve.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Any further comments? Hearing none, clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Davis? Aye. Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Hey.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Motion carries. All right. Back to the Legislative Policy Committee. There were two property tax bills dropped last week. There will probably another. The House will drop theirs, the Senate dropped theirs, and the Governor dropped hers on last week. A couple of things that I want to mention here as you maybe have a chance to talk to legislators or others. The Senate version put a 0.5% increase in budgets as a minimum. Actually, you're only going to be allowed to increase budgets that much. Budget adjustment factor was also added, which does follow CPI for certain things. They're trying to get some new definitions carved out of the budget, trying to get some definitions, for instance, on rollback and how much that's going to go to. Senator Dawson wants the rollback to go from 44 to 70%. Then 3% over a 13-year period, so 3% every year for 13 years is how they roll that back. Frankly, I don't see how it makes it any simpler, but just that's my opinion. So there, though, one of them is that they do allow for a 1.5% increase in or 1.5 cent sales tax. So that would be good if we could maybe work on that a little bit and take a look at those options. The governor's bill, which I don't understand this, but does not allow more than 10% of your budget to be allowed for reserves. Right now, we're between 28 and 33%, I think it is, somewhere in that neighborhood. This got a lot of conversation from the Legislative Policy Committee because it was discussed what happens if you have an emergency, what happens if you have a large purchase you have to make, ambulance, fire, those kinds of things. 10% just doesn't cover any kind of natural disaster or anything along that line, and so there's a lot of opposition to that. Would cap increase growth to 2% in general operations. TIF would be limited to 20 years. We have a couple that are, that would have to be redone. And also school levies would be exempt from TIF, which would be a big hit. Franchise fees was also discussed about essentially dropping franchise fees, and which will also be a big issue. There was an issue about the recent Supreme Court decision, the State versus Poly-I, like the pizza company, but that's not them, but that's same, spelled the same way. Cities cannot collect on certain plea deals or certain kinds of things that we get for certain police. If they don't pay their bills, they don't get the things paid. Right now, we can go to collections. That would be restricted under this particular case, and I would highly recommend that staff take a look at that and see what that does to us. So that was that report. Okay, community update, a couple of things. And if anybody has anything else to jump in, we have a new staff meeting tomorrow night, I believe at 4:30, is that correct, out at the activity center?
The wellness campus.
At the wellness campus. Okay, thank you for that clarification. We have coming up, I think, Chris Longer's retirement parties at 1 o'clock, I believe, at the electric facility, if I'm not mistaken.
Friday.
About that. Friday, yep, Friday the 23rd. I will be gone next week. I leave for the National League of Cities fly-in to Washington DC on the 27th, early in the morning, and I'll be back on the 29th. I got the agenda for that. It's basically a lot of mayors flying in, discussing city issues on a national level. And the reason I'm going is because the president of the organization can't go. So as vice president, I guess I get the option to do that. And the league is taking care of the cost of that. So couple things, talked to Bob. The Simpson College Gymnastics opened up their facility on Saturday. Bob says they had a standing room only crowd, so that was kind of interesting. I believe the Iowa Suns had their first tournament Saturday as well. So there's probably other things, but I'm forgetting those at the moment.
Thursday is a home wrestling meet.
Thursday is a home wrestling meet. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other updates anybody wants to give on that? Okay. Had a conversation, Steve and I had a conversation in our one-on-one meetings we had regarding Mayor Pro Tem. Steve's currently a Mayor Pro Tem. Steve, why don't you tell him what you kind of talked about, and let's kind of run from there. So.
Sure. So Mayor Richardson and I sat down, kind of had one of the one-on-one meetings that he's been trying to do with everybody, and talked about the Mayor Pro Tem position. And I pitched an idea to him of it being a rotating position annually. So people can get the experience of what it's like to sit at the middle of the table. Having had to do that, even a slight shift over, it's still a little bit different, not gonna lie. So him and I talked about that, and you know what the appetite would be from others for that, to be a rotating position, because then it might rotate to you at some point. As I stare at Ron, I'm just trying to like make Ron be like, no.
I want to see him when that beard's out.
But you know, if you know, we just wanted to talk about that in case people were like, no, I don't like that idea, or.
I mean, let me get some time under my belt, please. Let me up first.
And also so that if Mayor Richardson does make a change, that it's not gonna catch anybody off guard. It's something that him and I have talked about, so.
Yeah. Thoughts on that? Anybody have objections, or, I mean, it's obviously my call, but I appreciate Steve bringing that forward. I think it's a great idea. That's why we're discussing it here tonight. So if anybody has any comments, that's fine, and otherwise we'll probably just move forward with it here shortly, so.
No real concerns. I thought, first of all, Steve did a great job in your absence a few times. I thought you ran there a really nice meeting. I mean, I'll step in wherever is needed, just as long as you're not gone.
Come on, take it over.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, it gives people experience, want it or not, it still gives you the experience, which I think is good.
Yeah.
I don't
I think
volunteer
it's a good-
first.
What's that, Melissa?
I think it's a good idea. Steve Armstrong, you always did a nice job in mayor's absence. I'm always up for doing whatever's needed to keep things moving, so if you need me to step in, I will.
Okay. Josh, any thoughts? You okay with it?
What's that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Just with the caveat that it not be me this year. Happy to talk about it next year, but with my new job, I'm gone and remote a little more while I'm getting settled. So it would not be a good idea to have it be me, but I think it's a good idea in general.
Okay, thank you. So my thought is right at the moment that, and I talked to Steve about this a little bit too, that Ron's the longest serving council member we have right now, and so that's who I will probably appoint. Probably appoint him in the next meeting in February, so that's, and then we'll rotate it. We'll probably figure out, I know that some of you are up in a couple of years, so we'll probably go ahead and get you in there and get you moved around too, so we'll see how it goes. Okay? Thank you, appreciate it. Good, great comments, Steve, appreciate that. All right, we're on to old business, resolution accepting community development block grant facade easement agreements. Jake, is this you or is this?
That's me, sir.
That's Bryce, there we go, all right.
Yes, quick item tonight. Staff's requesting city council approve granting the mayor permission to sign the facade easement agreements as part of the CDBG project. Essentially, the purpose of these is to grant a 3-year easement between each property owner and the city for access to ensure improvements are maintained in good condition, and then also make sure that the work is not altered without prior approval.
Okay, any questions for Bryce? I take a motion to approve. So moved. I got a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Second?
Okay, thank you. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Davis? Aye. Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. All right, discussion direction regarding the tax abatement program. Jake, do you want to start this off or you want to go from there? Mr. Bryce again, there we go.
Sure.
Geez, I'm 0 for 2 here tonight, aren't I?
Not a problem, not a problem.
Delegation.
Wanted to give a brief history, background on this. So the property tax abatement has been discussed at the September 8th study session, and then again, November 10th study session. Staff did bring an amendment before council on December 15th. At that meeting, there was direction to analyze 2 different schedules. Again, they're up there, the 3-year abatement, just at different scales. The higher abatement would be the 75, 60, 45%. And then the second schedule was 60, 40, 20 that we analyzed a little bit further. Again, just as further background, city currently offers a 5-year sliding scale that starts at 100% and then depreciates by 20% every year. That applies to new construction and renovations exceeding 10% of the home's assessed value. The proposed 3-year abatement has minimal impacts to owners, and what I mean by that is the differences between the two. By the 75, 60, 40 and the 60, 40, 20, there's about a $250 saving per year for the homeowner. Wanted to highlight the first year city tax revenues for both options. The higher abatement, which is the 75, 60, 45, that means that more taxes are being abated, so it's about a $16,000 per year, or for the first year, excuse me, revenue. And then the other option would be about $26,000 in the first year. Currently, with 100% abatement, there's 0 tax revenue in the first year. So kind of, I think it averaged out to like 22,000 between the two, but that kind of helps delineate those. I would like to note the schedule would apply both to new construction and renovations. We cannot legally have 2 schedules for residential project types. Originally, when the amendment came through in December 15, they removed new construction from the eligible abatement, which allowed us to retain that 5-year schedule. So whatever we do for one, we got to do with both because it's residential construction. So staff is requesting direction from which of the abatement schedules to proceed with as amendment number 2. Those are highlighted again. And again, that would apply to both or to all residential projects.
Okay, so is it my understanding then, because of the vote, we've got 3 options here essentially? So leave it as is to do the modified system or do away with it, is that correct?
So it would be between those two or to keep the way it is.
Oh, so it's between this
We,
or?
we could have direction if we want to terminate it still. This was just the direction we received at December 15th on kind of further analyzing it, but yeah, I guess technically, yeah, you could have like a 2A and a 2B, which would be those two schedules up there.
So the December was split vote, right? Some wanted to get rid of it. And then this is what the other options were.
Mhm.
Got it. I have lots to say, so I'll let you guys go first.
Discussion, folks.
No? We'll dive right in.
You get to dive right in?
Awesome,
ahead.
okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't up here when the last vote was, so I wanted to bring a little more information now that I've been able to think on everything. I think the biggest thing for me is the fact of, one thing that was mentioned last time was what's fair. I work in mortgage, you work in mortgage.
Sorry.
If we look at that, I don't think we're ever gonna get to a vote. If we look at fair, I think we need to get out of that mindset. So if we're gonna do fair, I think just no abatement. Cause I know that was mentioned with, okay, we don't do new construction, but we can do having,
Revitalized or?
yeah, revitalization and giving it to them. So if we're worried about fair, I think then we get rid of it. But correct me if I'm wrong, Bryce, I know you said it's more difficult to bring it back. But is that in the case of not having abatement at all? Or is that the case of if we had revitalization, then it's easier to bring back? Like what
Yeah,
is
just
that like?
the process of establishing an urban revitalization area just takes a little bit more time rather than just simply opening it up and amending it like this.
Okay. So if we had the revitalization in there, it would be a little easier to,
If we wanted to bring back some type of schedule for
okay.
new construction or any other type, yes.
okay, perfect, okay. So I think with that, that mindset, I think if we wanna keep abatement as a potential in the future, and we give to where we can revitalize, I think we're different than other communities in the fact that we have a beautiful downtown and a historic downtown that I don't think giving them is maybe taking one side over the other. It's what's needed at the time. And as we know, in the mortgage industry, I mean, it's ever changing. And so I don't think that's a bad idea to have that because it is where things right now, I think that our focus is revitalizing those homes so that they're not going away and that you give that capability to then, in the end, they use that abatement, they fix up the homes, it's obviously going to raise their assessed value, right? So, there is positives to that. I think when you look at, I know it was mentioned that we're worried about growth and that we're not gonna grow if we don't have abatement. And with that, I think my biggest thing is with the budget, the way it is right now, we have to look at as a whole and the fact of being worried about growth, we don't know what the future is gonna hold. We have to look at right now and we have to look at what the state is doing to us and tying our hands on certain things. And I mean, with looking at that rate, I mean, if we want, Aldi's has been mentioned, that's going to hinder that as well. So I think that's where I am with the growth information is, yes, we want growth, but do we really want residential right now as much as we need some growth commercially if we want to grow residentially, right? Maybe I'm wrong, show some stats at me, but people do not move here just for abatement. I think we need to switch our focus to what this town has to offer and not just, hey, let's get you here. Let's abate your taxes so we get you here. Well, that's great, we get more people, but we need to be able to also offer them things. We want a new library, right? We want bigger cop station, bigger areas for our cops, for fire. We want all those things. Well, those cost money in the end. At the end of the day, they cost money. So how do we pay for that? Well, if we're more worried about abating taxes and those people then not paying into the community that we're trying to grow, that doesn't really help us. So in my mind, I think it needs to go. and we need to switch. Now, this isn't our focus as much as realtors. We don't pay for their marketing, right? They need to switch focus on what there is. And like I mentioned earlier I got to visit IMU today, and everything I saw was like, why are we not talking about what IMU offers and why people should want to move here? The fact that our water is amazing, we've got fiber that is leaps ahead. And so using those things to sell this town and not just offering abatement to get them here. I think it's great. We want people to move here, right? I mean, I'm a transplant. There's a reason I moved here. It was not abatement. It was the schools, the year-round offer, I love that we're 30 minutes away from Des Moines. It's really not that far of a drive. I drive it 3 days, 4 days a week sometimes. And so I think switching the mindset of we need to pour in to the people that are paying their taxes in the town so that we can then repay them by updating things in town. We want that new library. We want all these things, and that's where my mind goes. So, sorry, I talked a lot. Like I said, I have a lot to say with being mortgage industry,
So
but
if I hear you correctly, you would keep the abatement on renovation of existing properties, but do away with it on new properties?
yes, just for the fact that, like Bryce said, it makes it easier to maybe in the future after we get some things ironed out and we can bring it back potentially if we want to. That's a conversation that's a little easier to have at that point. I think that's the reason to keep it, but also for
Okay.
our historic homes, but.
Okay.
So for me, I think it kind of boils down to, do you think there'll be a drop in residential growth by either dropping the abatement or not? We were given the stat of, a possible 20% dip in residential growth by dropping the abatement. And if the goal is to keep more money or be able to raise more revenue through taxes, the 3-year model would benefit us greater than by dropping the abatement and having there be a dip in that residential growth. So, that's kind of where I'm thinking is either you think there is gonna be a dip in growth or you don't think there's gonna be a dip in growth, because the numbers we were provided shows that the 3-year model is greater. Something that I was just thinking about as well is, we may be penalized possibly for growth. But as the mayor had talked about, sales tax increase may be on the horizons for other communities. And Steve, maybe you could share what that 1% increase in sales tax does for tax revenue. I thought that was a pretty substantial number.
So Jackie, if I'm not mistaken, our annual sales tax at 1 cent is about 2.2 million, is that correct?
Correct.
So if you did a 1 cent, that's exactly what you're talking about. Now, if it's a 0.5% that they're gonna give us, then you're down to $1.1 million. Now, the question becomes, again, I don't wanna get sidetracked on this, but the point is that if they require us to use some of that for tax reduction or other kinds of things that we don't have to, we aren't able to backfill some of the things we normally have, that's a different story too.
So that's where my thought is, we would want growth at that point because we can get revenue through sales tax if our growth, residential growth is still growing, right?
So I think to your point on that, the biggest issue for me with we want growth. Yeah, we obviously want growth, but right now we're not operating on a balanced budget, let alone to even think about. Yeah, I mean, you're going to bring people in. Yes, that obviously brings in your taxpayer money, but my biggest thing is we are looking at cuts, right? Budget's coming up, we're looking at huge cuts that could happen. And so I guess sitting here, I can't sit here and not bring this up for the fact of that we might be looking at cutting in certain areas that offer to our community members that are paying their taxes, right? They're the ones paying their taxes right now. We cut programs, we do all these things, but hey, we're gonna not have these people pay taxes because we wanna bring them in. I really think we need to focus on pouring in to our community members that pay those taxes right now, and that they can't, we're looking at, they pay these taxes, we can't build a brand new library right now. We can't do all these things without money, right? And so that's where I'm like, that's where I think I'm torn is until we can even offer what we would like to the residents we have, if we if we see a drop in growth, I don't think that's going to hurt if we can just look at the more, I think that's a Band-Aid, right? That's, oh, let's get more people in, that Band-Aid's our issue of not having a balanced budget. I think we figure out balance that budget, figure out why things aren't balanced, go in and pour into the community members that are paying those taxes and put their taxpayer dollars to work of doing things that they wanna see, updating our streets. We just saw the numbers for that, that's not gonna be cheap. Updating our streets, updating the library, doing all these things that our community members want that have paid their taxes. And then, yeah, when we can support the community members we have, then we can look at maybe bringing it up and offering tax abatement again, right? And yeah, it might drop in growth, but how, you can't project that. I mean, like, you know, mortgage is like a roller coaster every day. It's why I'm gray. But
Let's, if
that's
I
where I
may,
think, that's all I was saying, is that I think we need to switch our mindset.
if I may, let's go ahead and let others talk here too, and then.
Jackie, we can't use lost in general funds, right? Like to do, you know,
Correct, unless the state changed some of
right,
it.
so like the extra 1.1 to $2.2 million doesn't help us in terms of general funds, so.
Well, that's the issue that is in front of the legislature right now, whether or not that even be, it's all nebulous right now.
Sure.
Those are just
Yeah.
things that have dropped right now. What the good news is that the senators are obviously thinking that sales tax may be another option rather than property tax. Now, how that's used is another question, okay? So I don't think we can count on any of that right now. What I'm saying is that there's some things in the future. We'll see how this session plays out, but we'll have to make this decision way before that time.
I just wanted to like clarify that.
Yeah,
for
you're right.
everybody.
It's all for infrastructure issues or,
Yep.
or, you know, related items. It can't be used to backfill things, but that could change in the future. We don't know. Yeah. Bob, you wanna go ahead? If I don't mind, I'll take the people who are here first and then we'll get the people online, so.
Sure, I was looking at the numbers that we had in this chart that we were given. I remember when we had this one where it showed the current 5-year alternate, 3-year model and no abatement. And it was, I think, the one, Ron, you referred to when the differential between a 20% drop off in new homes versus if we went to the 3-year model. And with that one, we, as you stated, we came out ahead versus what projected, nobody knows because we don't have a crystal ball. Could be a 20% drop off, but let's say it is. And that was based on the 3-year abatement, 75, 60, 45. And just playing with the numbers that we were given like that, to me, that looked pretty attractive. I'm wondering just how much differential there'd be then all of a sudden if you go with 60, 40, 20. I mean, we're just gonna increase our revenue, right? Assuming all these other things are static and you have the 20% drop off. I don't see residential and commercial as mutually exclusive. I mean, I
No,
understand what you're saying,
just
but.
House File 718 is what I meant.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I think by going to the 60, 40, 20, to me, what that does is it still gives us an opportunity to grow, maybe not as fast a rate as we would. I agree, people don't move here just for tax abatement. If they do, I'd be really disappointed in this community. There's a lot here to offer. But I think every community has certain types of things that incentivize people to come there, whether they're financial, whether they're amenities, whatever. And I haven't bought well, we just moved a few years ago, but that was more just self-initiated, so I can't say I've come to town and had a realtor sell me on what it was, but even going back to when I did and abatement existed, we were being sold more on what you talk about, the amenities, the values, the quality of life, things that are here. And so while I think we can do that, I don't think we can deny that abatement is assisted in that. I wouldn't want to compare ourselves to a Norwalk or a Carlisle with that, because knowing that they have ended theirs, because I don't think we're like them. And I think I said before, I don't want to be like them. I want to be the best Indianola we can be. I just think, to your point about jumping back in, if we just keep it for the revitalization, I think if we keep it, we're going to need some new homes as well. I don't think we're going to just survive on revitalization. That by going the 60, 40, 20 route, we're going to increase this differential perhaps. I don't know without looking at numbers, but to me, that sounds attractive. We do have serious budget issues. We can't hide from that or run from that. But we also, what makes this difficult for me to get my head around is one, being new like you, and not having gone through the budgeting cycle. But two, we've got new people managing that budgeting cycle. And I think we've got to give them an opportunity to do their job as they come back to us to show us how they've put together that budget. At least, I'm not calling you out, Jake, intentionally, but in our one-on-one and talking about some of your thoughts and ideas. I know it's going to be tough, but I'm excited to hear what you can bring to the table because of your experience with that.
Yeah.
And none of us know yet versus how we got here.
Steve? Sure. So I'm hearing a lot about this 3-year model, and if it's more than 20% drop, then we'll come out on top. Look, our growth isn't doing this. It's doing this. You're never going to know if there was a 20% impact. The new housing permits would go up, then they would go down, then they were up, then they were down. This isn't steady growth that we're talking about of being able to easily measure what the impact would be. Hell, you could get a big spike in them after we end it, and you could go, well, look at that, we ended the property tax abatement, and it went up. We don't know, because we aren't on a trajectory either way. We are on a roller coaster, so if you don't like roller coasters and you get sick to your stomach, get off of our roller coaster of new home permits. I'd get rid of it all. I've been consistent with that from day one. I think with House File 718 and the penalization of growth, they're even going to cap it lower now, or potentially, right? Down from 3 to 2 for what your taxable valuation is, and anything abated counts in that. I've thought a lot about this from the last time we discussed it, and hearing the word compromise, and I go, to me, the budget and getting the increased revenue to be able to fund our staff isn't something I'm willing to compromise on. And sometimes it's what you need to do, and compromising at 60-40-20 isn't enough. It's not enough to do what we need to do to balance our budget and have any impacts that we're going to have be minimal. So if people want to support a 3-year, they can. Doesn't mean I will. Because I want to do what is necessary to fund our city in the way that it should be funded.
Thank you. Melissa?
Yeah, I will kind of ride on the coattails of Mr. Armstrong here by saying that we need to fund our city in the way it needs to be funded. We know we have a lot of tough cuts ahead of us in this budget cycle just because of the situation that we are in, and the tough situation that the legislature is putting us in with even further challenges coming down at us. So it's not over yet. And we need to dial in and get ready for it. So I am in favor of getting rid of it for now, but keeping the program in place for rehabilitation of or remodeling of homes so that we have that in place to easily pivot back. One thing I do want to throw out is that we are continuing to incentivize development through the TIF agreements that we have in place. We, just since I've been on council, have signed several new development agreements, and those all incentivize residential development. So we should not feel like we are not putting money into our community for the development of new homes. And all of those were done strategically through discussion with the developers to see what kind of housing that we needed. And each one of them checked different boxes for us. And even outside of those TIF agreements, we have several nice developments in progress. So I I guess, I see a lot of great things happening in our community. We just need to continue to market ourselves and press on.
Okay, so just to recap, if I hear you correctly, you do away with new home abatement, but would keep the 3-year for remodeling of homes, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Josh, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I hear what we're all saying, and the hardest part in all this is that we are arguing, debating unknowns, right? We don't know fully what's coming. We don't know if we're going to continue to get hampered further by the State House. We don't know if we turn off abatement, if we're going to truly see a 20% reduction. We don't know a lot. We know that a lot of folks, builders, developers, realtors, homeowners, all kinds of people worked for a lot of years to put this in place. The landscape has changed dramatically since it has come in place, which is where I think the 3-year option kind of came up as an alternative to just turning it down altogether. I think for me, I agree, there's a million unknowns here. And what we're all trying to do with the budget and with managing our growth is to find the softest landing to get more revenue, balance the budget, and keep us moving forward. I guess one question real quick for Bryce, and I apologize for putting you on the spot here, but we are talking about, Melissa brings up a good point about some different TIF developments. What are the current residential ones that are actively turning out lots on a TIF agreement?
Wesley would be the main example. Emerald Bay obviously has some, but they're not actively constructing vertically.
That seems to have been pretty stalled out here for a while from what I'm just seeing and hearing. Wesley is a great example, but that's a kind of a unique residential project. I don't know of any other ones that are utilizing TIF for residential. I think it can work. Traditionally, we've not seen it happen here. Seen mixed results with TIF-driven residential in other communities. For me, I think everyone there's a potential that we're all right and we're all wrong. I don't know. I know for me, looking at the numbers, going to the 60-40-20 seems like it's going to generate more revenue than we currently have, while still encouraging growth and just giving us a differentiator in the market as well, to just help accentuate all the other positives we have in this community. That's, I think my perspective is that is for me, the best landing to generate more revenue in a more guaranteed fashion.
I didn't have those numbers since I wasn't here. Do you have those? I'm trying to understand how the 60-40-20 is more.
So the assumption was a 60-40-20 provided more because there wasn't a 20% loss in, 20% decrease in building permits.
Okay.
20% loss.
Back to TIF agreements, correct me if I'm wrong, but is Summercrest Hills not under a TIF agreement?
It is. There's no residential component of it anymore.
Okay.
When it was originally
So they're
approved,
all built up.
there were townhomes part of it, but the developers were in discussions on that, and that's not part of it.
Okay.
Deer Run will have some, we're actively working on that, that'll be residential and commercial.
What's the name out on East Highway 92? What's the East Highway 92 project? What's the TIF agreement?
The schoolyard,
Yeah, schoolyard development.
You mean the Pickard Estates?
Pickard Estates, yeah.
Pickard Estates, that was not a TIF project.
Okay.
Could have been, but
Yeah.
was not asked for.
Some townhomes going in on, what is that?
Bruce?
Spruce? Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Pickard Park Estates, Easton Park, and that spruce development, all developing without TIF agreements as well.
Right.
And then there are other developments that are developing without TIF agreements.
Right. Correct. So as I hear it right now, of course, Tiffany, you got some points on there yet? What thoughts?
I mean, I'll just beat a dead horse, so it's fine.
So, I don't know if you got, it sounds to me like you got three people that would stick with a 60-40-20 on all abatements right now. But we've got a clear number of people, of the majority that would go with a 3-year on remodeling of homes. Is that where I'm hearing?
That's where I'm at.
But I don't
Say
think
that
we,
again, the majority on what?
3-year, 60-40-20 on remodeling of homes only.
Or it'd be 3-year,
60-40-20.
Well, are
is what we're
you,
saying. Or between, right?
well, no, yes, we don't have, we've got three people that said 60-40-20 on everything for sure.
Mhm.
I don't know, are you on, do you just want the remodeling only? Is that where you're sitting?
Yep.
Okay, so then we don't have a majority then to get full abatement on all projects.
I have a question.
What?
Might be more for Allison. So I've had some people reach out on conflict of interest.
Yep, and we've provided,
I hadn't emailed you, sorry, I just.
Nope, and we've provided, I've had a couple members reach out to me. We have provided a legal opinion on that. There is no actual conflict of interest. It is, if a council member has received a benefit from abatement that is currently open to, as it is to all residential, like new and renovation, that is not specific to that council person, so therefore that's not an actual council member. If they have received campaign funds from, let's say, realtors or others that are pro abatement or the other way, that is not an actual conflict. When it comes down to it, the policy is not directed at the abatement change, or if you keep it the same or get rid of it entirely, is not directed at a specific development or a specific place, but at the city as a whole. And so therefore, an interest that you may or may not have of a council person arising would not be an actual legal conflict. If a council person felt that they had a perceived conflict, that would be personal for them to determine. And if it is a perceived conflict rather than an actual legal conflict, their vote would ultimately be a no vote if they chose not to vote. If they abstained from voting, it would be the equivalent of a no vote. If it was a legal conflict, then we'd take their number out entirely.
Thank you.
So,
Are you thinking someone has a conflict of interest?
Well, I just had a couple people reach out because, you know, I'm a newbie, so why not throw it at me? So I had to do research on it, but yeah, there was some concern with campaign funds coming from people that were very outspoken on abatement not being ended. And so that was brought up, and that's why I wanted to ask Allison how that was so I could respond accordingly. I can just say, watch the meeting and take legal advice from there.
we have advised that it is not a legal conflict.
Okay, thank you.
What I'm hearing right now then is that we have, I think if I'm still correct, and you folks correct me if I'm wrong, that we would at least keep it in place for renovations, but that would be the only thing that we offer. Is that what I mean, if we don't have a majority to do the 60-40-20 for everybody, for everything, okay? We do not have that. So second step is if you don't do anything tonight, it will stay as it is and you'll have a full 5-year abatement. So the question becomes, for you folks, where are you gonna land here?
So Bryce, can you help me on that graph? So purple there that was, sorry, so I can, thank you. So the purple where it says the none, no change, that means no abatement, we get rid of it altogether, right? And then that that light blue, that is, looks like none, 20% drop, so that's not, so not having it, but we have a 20% drop in growth. That's what that light blue is, correct?
See the,
I just wanna make sure, cause I like numbers and I just wanna, okay.
oh yeah, the bar graph.
So this is saying no abatement whatsoever for anyone, right? Okay, so then this is saying we get rid of abatement altogether,
Without
but
a
we
twenty
have it,
percent, none with a 20% drop is where.
so we'd have a 20% drop. Okay, so really, we get rid of it altogether, it would probably be somewhere in the middle if we only have it 10, theoretically, right?
Right.
So we're looking at this 3-year, the 60, 40, 20, excuse me, that'd be the green,
No, this is 75,
or that's 75?
60, 45.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's 75.
Yep.
And then the 60, that one, that was new, so that probably was not in here, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 60, 40, 20 is on it.
Okay, gotcha. So we're saying between 652 and 522, if we got rid of it altogether, right?
Right, and then this, if we went to 60, 40, 20,
A little
would be a little bit
A little
higher.
bit higher. You can kind of
Okay.
see the stair increase.
Yeah, so this is the 60, 40, 20.
Yep.
Okay,
No,
This would
this
be
is a 75.
60, 40, 20 would be a little bit higher than
a
the
little
green.
bit higher.
Because we'd be
Than the
collecting, more of that.
Okay, so we're saying,
And that's with the assumption that we want to lose that 20%.
and that's assuming we lose 20.
Yes,
so-
that assumes that the little bit above it would be the assumption that we don't lose it. The only time we would lose the 20% is if we would go cold turkey on it and nix it, was the assumption.
Okay, so we're saying all on, like Josh said, like we're going on assumption, but, okay, so $100,000 difference because we feel like we might potentially have a 20% drop. Is what that's saying, right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't, 100,000 is a, it may not seem large, but I feel like that's a pretty large number when we're looking at potentially cutting people and cutting programs to our community. I feel like that's a large number and I can't wrap my head around because we think we might drop 20%. I don't know. I don't do that for a living though, so I don't, you probably know more than me on that with growing and maybe not.
The crystal ball thing.
Yeah.
That's what the 20, it was just a
I
number.
think the 20% came from Norwalk. I don't know where it came from.
Okay,
I think when we did their analysis
Michael
was,
did it just like worst case.
yeah.
okay.
assumption.
That was them figuring they'd have a 20%, which we've realized they didn't have 20%. But
Is our financial advisor.
Norwalk,
Our financial.
Norwalk,
Michael?
Okay.
No, that's Melissa.
Melissa's trying to make a comment here. Go ahead, Melissa.
sorry, Norwalk dropped their abatement and last year they grew by 314 rooftops.
so other things than abatement brought people there.
There's no data to show, I mean, the problem we have is, as Steve pointed out too, I think if you correlate things, you don't know whether it's interest rates, whether it's the affordability of housing, you don't know if it's abatement, there's just no data. I'm listening to our city manager too much about data, and I think, but there's just no data. I mean, it's all speculation, so I mean, really, and honestly, the numbers that Bryce provided us based on a 20% drop, that's where we are, but unless, you wanna go with the 60, 40, 20 for everything, we don't have that majority, so we do have, I believe, if I am correct, Ron, you would still keep the one for at least renovation, is that what I'm hearing, if we had the no option, Bob? You would keep it for, at least for renovation, if that's the only option we have? Yeah. Melissa, Josh, chime in here,
Yes,
okay? Josh?
Yeah, I'm fine with keeping it for renovations. Are we taking two different votes now? I'm
We're not really
trying to
taking a
follow
vote,
along
it's
here. I
just,
apologize.
it's just direction to the staff to bring something back for a council vote, am I correct on that? No?
Yeah, I think we would take direction, but mayor, members of the council, I don't think there's direction for us, or I don't think there's clear direction on what we would bring back, because I
That's what
feel
I'm
like
trying to get
I
to.
feel like we brought back, what we brought last time I don't think the
Yeah.
opinions or the mindsets
No.
have changed, so it doesn't seem that there's an appetite of council to find a solution at this point. It seems like it's fairly divided on this topic, so I'm not seeing what staff would bring back that would appease where the council's currently at.
So where I'm trying to get the council to understand is if we do nothing, we're still at a 5-year abatement. Okay? We have to either make a choice to go to nothing, which I don't think there's appetite to do that, I've not heard that, or to find something that is a 3-year abatement, whether it's both new and renovated, or whether it's just renovated. I didn't hear enough support for new and renovated. I hear support for renovation only. That's what I'm hearing. So in other words, we'd keep abatement, 3-year abatement
I don't,
for,
if I'm understanding what you're saying,
go ahead.
I'm supportive of keeping it for both.
Right.
I'm just making sure I'm understanding what I'm supporting here. Are you saying I'm supporting it going away for one and staying for the other?
There's not an appetite, Josh, with the council members here to do both, to do it for new and renovation. Although I think if we, the real choice for us as a council, and this is where I'm trying to get everybody to understand, if you don't do anything, you're back to a 5-year abatement period, okay? There's not enough people to go to completely absolve abatement. There's not enough majority to do a 60-40-20 for both new and renovation. I believe there's enough support to go to renovation only. But here's the key, and here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. If you're gonna say to staff tonight that we're just gonna do renovation only, we've got to get behind that, otherwise you're gonna be back to 5% or 5 years, full 100%. That's where you are. Are we clear? Josh, did that make it clear?
I think so. I might just be the dummy that's struggling with the technology tonight here. I'm not in favor of passing 0% for new construction.
Okay.
And so that's like, I try to be pretty clear on that. I apologize if I haven't
No.
been. I'm in favor of compromising on both, from the 5-year with 100% on that first year down to a number that increases our revenue more. Yeah, it's wild speculation, and whether we're going to drop 10%, 20%, 30% without it, who knows? I think Norwalk is a poor comparable city for us when it comes to new housing starts. The number of developments they have, the velocity on other things going on. Like, I think if it's just different than ours. So I'm supportive of keeping it. I don't really think the renovation is a needle mover in our budget. I don't believe. The real here is the new construction. That's the needle mover, right?
The only thing on revitalization, why I mentioned, was because like Bryce said, it's easier to bring it back in the future if you have that there. That's the only reason that I was saying to keep it, so.
The point I want to make with you is that there is not council support either direction to get rid of or to keep full. So we have to come up with a compromise in the middle. If you're not going to keep full, keep full.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you're not going to keep it, again, it's pretty simple, folks. You don't have the support to go to complete abolishment. You don't have the support at this moment, anyway, to do both new and renovation. You have support to do renovation only. From I hear 4 people say that they'll vote for that. Unless you folks are going to change your mind, but if you change your minds again, here we're back to full 100% for 5 years.
I'm just gonna say, if we're, like you said, we have to find a compromise, I think we need to understand that compromise, we also have to all understand that if cuts coming up, I want it to be clear that, I'm trying to say, if we cut things, we need to be able to fully explain why we support abatement and potential growth loss over cutting services offered to community residents that pay their taxes. Just, that's all I wanna say on it.
I think you gotta say if there are staff cuts this year, it's not due to cutting abatement
No.
today, because
I don't mean
it
staff
takes
cuts.
2 years for that house to even come onto the tax roll. So I mean, we're ways down the road before we have to think about whether or not our decision tonight is affecting staff members tomorrow.
No, yeah, and I don't mean just staff cuts. I'm talking about services offered that, coming up, you know, there's other services that have been cut.
You know, we talked about speculation, and that's all we really have, right? But we've had people talk to us that maybe have some data, right? We've had some realtors come to us, and some of that may be speculation because of their profession, but we've also had Don Edwards from Jerry's Homes come in and also say that other smaller communities that have done away with tax abatement has also, it's affected them with their residential growth, right? So, I mean.
Have we talked to anyone that's a local developer? Jerry Holmes develops all over. I don't, you know.
Yeah, so I guess my mind is, you know, she's aware of what council's decisions on tax abatements have done financially to other smaller communities, right? So I mean, all we can do is listen to people that maybe have some data and try to make a sound decision off of that.
That's, yeah, and she didn't provide data at that meeting, right? That was just all hearsay?
And where are they gonna go at this point? Everybody, I mean, most of the communities that are trying to build homes and grow have gotten rid of it, right? I know a builder with Jerry's Homes, I talked to him about it. He's like,
They're still gonna build, no matter, I mean, they'll go somewhere else.
I'm not gonna go to Norwalk, they don't have it. They're not gonna go to Carlisle, they don't have it, and they're landlocked.
That gets us back. I want us to keep us on track here with the idea that I understand where everybody wants to be. It's gonna be something nobody's happy with completely, I get that. But the point is, if we don't come to a consensus on something other than abolishment, we're gonna be back to 5-year, 100%, 75% on down the road. And that's just that's where we are. So we need 4 votes, and if 4 of you say that we're gonna move that direction, then that's the direction we move. But I'm not gonna tell staff to go back and do anything. We're not gonna direct staff to go back and do anything that's not gonna be passing down the road.
The 75. That's where I thought. 60, 40.
This is right now, right?
You don't have that graph, do you, Bryce, on your stuff there that you could just pop up? No? Okay.
I think Michael made that before I started.
I can send it to Jackie if you want.
This one.
I just look at these two numbers, like that's.
Where are you? I can't see. Right, and that's why I'm looking at this one. I'm getting this there, I mean, because even the TIF one, if you try and put it on the TIF, we don't have any history. I don't know anything here. That's why I'm concerned about that one. So to me, this gets us in the middle.
With that,
Ron, can you send it to me?
It's in the G drive. It's the September 8th study session. It
They're
says
taking out the town hall.
tax abatement presentation.
I don't want to get us derailed and get into that conversation.
This one that they're
Understand
looking
why
at,
they're-
that's where I think my difference is. Growth to me isn't a concern because we can't support the residents we have now with our non-balanced budget. So that's where I'm like, okay, we don't grow for a a little bit, we get our crap figured out.
Never mind, it's not that
We'll
old.
bring it back.
I just,
I'm sure it's.
that's what we got. I don't want to take.
let's bring the conversation forward here with everybody can hear it, so.
We don't have anything to start, all right? And I don't know that just fixing up houses will be that.
Yeah, well, and the only reason I mentioned the fixing houses so that we can bring it back, but
And
bring it
that's why I
back.
think with that in line with commercial, we'll be bringing in more people. more commercial.
All right, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give you about 5
That's from the
folks.
Oh, okay. Then the one above it, that one.
I'm gonna bring us back on target. We've got about 5 more minutes. We're gonna have to make a decision what you're doing here. We're either gonna come to a compromise or we're going back to full abatement. So figure out where we are here. Let's have open discussion, not sidebars. Let's have open discussion about where we're gonna be. We do not have support to go to a full, right at the moment. full abatement on both residential new construction and existing. We do not have approval to go to complete abolishment of abatement. So your choices basically are keep it as it is or find some compromise in the middle.
So, sidebar, it wasn't sidebar, it's everything I've already stated. I think the biggest issue we're stating, we can, correct me if I'm wrong, all of us, or not all of us, but most of you guys that want to keep that 60-40-20, your concern is growth, right? That's kind of why we're settling on that 60-40-20. Am I wrong in stating that?
Are you talking about new and existing? Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just 60-40-20. Our biggest concern for doing that and not getting rid is because we're concerned about growth, right? Not wrong? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was nodding, I thought you were saying, yeah,
Okay. So I think, and that's all we were talking about was that
right.
if that's our only concern, why are we so concerned about growth off of something that is hearsay and doesn't show any, no one's brought that to show that other communities have seen growth decrease. And I don't mean Norwalk, I mean other communities like that are comparable, right? We're just saying, oh, well, we won't build here. Okay. We need to focus on balancing our budget and fixing issues of cutting services to our residents that are paying taxes. That's, I guess, that's all we were talking about, the caveat that I have too. So if we go 60-40-20, I'm just trying to make it very clear that we're saying that that's what we're doing because we're scared of not growing.
Did I hear that 20% came from Michael Maloney?
Yeah, when he put the model together, that's what he did, was the worst case scenario, basically 20% dip.
So it wasn't, other communities have seen that, that's just, hey, this is what it would be if there was a 20% dip.
Assumption.
Okay, thanks. I feel like we're being scared with numbers that don't exist and are just potential.
Right.
That's, I know we have to come to an agreement, I'm just stating this.
You don't, you just stay split.
I don't wanna stay at 5 years. I think that just, then we're not doing anything for our budget.
In that, who's running, driving right now?
Prices.
Who's driving? Jason? In there, there was like the new home permits somewhere. So, cause like I kind of talked about that.
Per year.
Yeah. On how there's nothing consistent. So, like I just wanted people to see that of like, we're scared of not growing, but there's no consistency in our new home permits anyway.
Is that in this one, do you know?
I think it was in this one.
Yeah, you're right, it did show the fluctuation.
Yeah. Like, we're not on like a trajectory one way or the other, maybe it was, I mean, we saw it, I just
Might have been one of the
don't.
later ones, too.
Yeah, it's been a few.
I think your point's made. It does show fluctuation. There's no doubt about it. But again, I don't know if you guys support to completely do it out or do away with it, so. And I don't think it's fair to ask staff to come back with 3 or 4
No.
different models and then we still can't decide. So we need to decide tonight what we're doing and where we're going with it.
Mayor.
I think when,
Just a minute, Melissa, let Ron got.
I mean, tonight's discussion was just a discussion on direction, so we don't have to make a decision tonight, right?
Well, we do, Ron, in the sense that now we're gonna ask staff to come back with a couple different options and look at things, and it's just a waste. To me, you're talking about saving tax dollars, let's put them on other things over here, just to be honest with you. I think they need clear direction to bring us an ordinance to make a change, if we're gonna make a change. And they need clear direction on what that ordinance is, otherwise, we're still speculating and everything's just down that path.
And if my memory serves from the November meeting, the clear direction of 6.0 was to get rid of new construction abatement and keep a 3-year plan for remodels. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah, you weren't a part of that.
Okay, so then we can go 5.0, that would still, and she's taken the position from that meeting though. Am I not mistaken that was the clear direction in that meeting? It was a 6.0 to get rid of new construction, I mean, we could go watch it if we need to, but.
If that's the way I voted, that's not how I intended my vote to go. I've never had the thought that abolishing tax abatement altogether was a great idea. So, I mean, if I voted for that,
That's what, I mean, that was the direction I gave. I was very clear in the direction, and then everybody agreed.
Okay,
I'm just saying, I just
I know
wanted to
you're-
talk about the direction to staff.
trying to
It
get
was
back, I'm
clear.
trying to get back to Melissa here, so I'm trying to do. Melissa, you go ahead, you had a comment. Steve, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
Sorry, I forgot, Melissa.
That's all right. Go ahead, Melissa.
Jump from the ceiling.
I was just gonna make a point that should we choose to get rid of the abatement on new builds this year, and we see that things don't go well, we are keeping it in play for the remodel and rehab so that we can easily pivot and bring it back. I think that's something that we need to keep in mind as we continue this discussion. But I think we're beating a dead horse and we need to move along and make a decision.
So just to clarify, so I hear you correctly, you're okay with 3-year abatement, but for renovation only. So we can bring it back if we need to easily.
Correct.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Same here.
I feel like that's a compromise, right? To me, that's, I'm trying to remember that November meeting of what that was, but I felt, what changed from November to December?
Well, and I think you're right, Steve, as far as the vote, but that's what I was under the impression from Bryce. I think that was the meeting where you talked about TIF and developers, right, using that. But then when I hear Josh and Bryce's response to that, we don't have any proof that that works either for us, and that's what got my attention, was thinking, well, it made sense if he still got TIF, it'd pass on, but that apparently obviously isn't working at Emerald Bay, and Wesley's a whole different breed of cat, I think, to a certain degree, yeah.
The 60-40-20 is because of realtors and developers saying that it's not going to grow. What they're telling
But it
us
has
because
worked.
that's their marketing.
Melissa, go ahead.
TIF has worked very successfully around the wellness campus area. The Summercrest development's been built out in TIF.
I agree it's worked there, but that's all commercial. I guess I'll just say one last thing and then I'll be done. I do appreciate all the discussion. I would echo what Ron said, that I thought we were moving this discussion along in November to further explore. I've never been in favor of getting rid of it altogether. I could be wrong about my feelings, but I really don't think I'm doing any of this out of fear. I think that this is a thing that we're trying to make absolute, definite, and linear, and development is none of those things. In my experience, that's all I can speak for. And I appreciate, Melissa, your words that we can keep it for the remodel so we can always bring it right back. I just don't, my experience says development doesn't work that way. You don't turn it back on that quick. I'm very open and have been to finding a balanced approach here. And listen, if in a year things change further, we have even more data, more stuff changes with the state, and we need to talk about cutting further or abolishing it at that point, I'm open to it. I don't think, for me, given the data that we have, that getting rid of it altogether is what's wisest for our community, given some of the unique development obstacles that we've had in our growth trajectory. That's just where I'm at. I apologize for any confusion from that November vote. It's clear that we were thinking different things. My goal is not to be divisive on this. I personally thought that coming to a 3-year was a compromise from what everyone wanted. I don't think that, that is what it is. I think we should be looking at a balanced approach here. That's my opinion.
So, got, Melissa says that she wants a 3-year remodeling of homes. Tiffany, you're at what?
Same.
Okay,
Same.
okay. Josh doesn't want to get rid of all of it. Ron and Bob?
Same, I'm leery of getting rid of it altogether. Like Josh stated, you know, that if we go to a 3-year approach and try it for a year and it doesn't work out, then let's drop back 10 and punt at that point, but let's at least give it a try and see what happens.
I ask a question to Bryce. So if we did, like you said, we give the year of trying out this 3-year, I don't think that's gonna be enough data, right? So it'd probably be longer than that.
I would recommend a minimum of 3 years, if not 5, to at least see,
I was gonna say.
let it take hold and market it and all that good stuff.
Well, and remember that it won't take effect immediately, right? Like there's grandfathering, so.
The proposal was for 27 to top it off, right?
That was back in December,
Yeah.
yes, we may extend it.
And you're
11 months out.
looking at, you know, 20.
Either way, you aren't gonna have any data. Whether we drop it or we don't for a couple of years.
Still haven't got a decision, folks, because I don't have a majority on anything right at the moment. We're back to full 5-year.
Well, here's just what I'm thinking. Let's move on if we can. Maybe I need to do a little more research. Maybe I need to talk to a few more people. Maybe we need to try to get a little more data. Talk amongst ourselves, and then when we're ready, let's bring it back for staff to move at that point. Sitting here any longer is not going to help anything, so.
Jake, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, because you're staff and so.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. I, generally agree with Councilmember Dalby at this point. I think the issue's been thoroughly vetted over a number of meetings and again vetted here tonight. I think at some point there's probably just a level of frustration that sets in when we don't see a clear path forward. So probably no more value for council to kind of continue, because I think all the points have probably been made at this point. Probably best to take a reprieve, recircle, and then we always have that discussion and action regarding future agenda items. So at such time that a council member wants to bring this item back up and give staff direction to bring it forward for discussion, we'd certainly be happy to do that.
Okay.
And I think,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I think Tiffany raised a good point. If we do that, Ron, what you're suggesting, and Jake, you are, that let's find some people that have said they did away with it and say, give us your numbers once, not the Norwalks, the Carlisles, but I think she referred to Adele and some others, but let's just try and get a kind of a fair balance of that, and we'll have some, at least information that we don't have now.
Have they gotten rid of theirs recent?
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't have much to give.
Norwalk?
Well, Norwalk was recent, but
Referencing Adele or.
Adele's been a while.
Yeah, Dale's been a few years. I don't know if Adele's a good one to follow because they.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's because she was here, but I think your point about getting some, data might be a good thing to try and do.
Johnston or Grimes never has offered abatement, and there's just different theories about it as well.
I can't believe I'm about to do this, but I just feel like coming back is not gonna change anything. Like places that we're going to get figures from are not gonna have, from what I'm understanding, are not gonna be able to give good figures anyways. So we go and get those and they're gonna be like, we don't really have anything. Now we've just wasted even more time, and taxes are already, 18 months behind when you come to taxes, so, I mean, we're just prolonging this, so.
Just let it sit, just let it simmer.
I just,
I'm gonna do a little more research, and if I'm wrong, absolutely, I'll call myself out and vote to abolish it, but let's just give us a little more time.
I wanna make sure that we're respecting your time too. I mean, you've said, there's not really much more you guys can give us, so that's why.
As long as we aren't asking you for more data, right?
No, council members, to your point, I mean, of course, as staff, we want to provide as much relevant information as we can. To Councilmember Davis's point that as much as I love data, it can also conflict with each other, right? One community's experience may be different than another community's. Often, again, with my experience with abatement, there doesn't seem to be the right best path, a one size fits all for every community. I think everyone's circumstances are a bit unique. And like I said, as much as I love data, you can certainly tell different stories from different experiences.
What I wanna say though is that if we're gonna ask staff to bring this back, or one of us brings it up on a future agenda item, let's make sure that, because there is gonna be staff time involved to get prepared for that meeting, let's make sure that you're prepared to make a decision or a compromise decision once you hear the remaining discussion, because the alternative is back to a 5-year or somewhere in between to nothing, to no abatement. So the whole range is evidently still on the table here, so I was just trying to get us to a consensus so we could get staff to get an ordinance written and moved. But I think Ron's got a pretty good idea here, and it seems like everybody's kind of agreeing with that. So do your research. If you want to bring it back on a future agenda item, then we'll do that, and then that'll be about at least two meetings probably out to do that. Get it on future agenda. Somebody raises it in the next meeting, then it's gonna be at least the next meeting or after that.
That's what I was just gonna ask, is like, when can that be brought up? Cause I feel like we don't need a super long time, right?
Councilors, if I may, it depends on what you're looking for from staff, right? So if you're just wanting to bring it back for another discussion and rehashing some of the information that's been provided, that can be a relatively quick turnaround. If there's a request for permit data from several different communities and things of that nature, of course, that would take time to gather that information. So it just kind of depends on the nature of kind of conversation wanted and amount of research we would do in advance.
Okay. All right, let's move on to strategic goals, and I'm gonna be 0 for 3, I bet here. So Jake, is that you?
It is.
Oh, hey, hey.
Just kidding, Jackie knows. Mayor, members of the council, prior to my arrival, the city council previously adopted the 2024 to 2027 strategic priorities, which are proudly displayed over there on the wall right above Chief Hawkins. To enhance specificity, clarity, and organizational alignment, the city council and staff participated in a goal-setting session to identify and refine key goals that support, supplement, and advance those strategic priorities. The city partnered with Callahan Municipal Consultants to facilitate a goal-setting session that was held in December of 2025. Based on the results of a preliminary questionnaire with discussion, refinement, and prioritization at the goal-setting session, 12 initiatives and programs were identified as the most urgent or important for 2026 and 2027. The final report, included in the packet, also identified 8 capital projects that were deemed most urgent or important. I would note that a 10-year capital improvement plan is in the list of givens noted within the report, and is currently being developed by staff. Staff will use the feedback provided by City Council on the capital items in the development of that 10-year capital improvement plan. Staff recommends City Council adopt the goal-setting document with any desired modifications. I would note that the facility improvement plan did not make that top 12, I believe it was number 14. And I would encourage City Council to move that up into a top tier priority if in fact we do want to move forward with looking at our facilities, as that would take a significant amount of staff time as well as financial investment to move forward.
Okay. What's the council's prerogative here? What's your desire?
I think there needs to be more discussion on it. Like I had emailed Jake, just some of my concerns in general. I'm not sure I'm excited to like sign off on anything that I might not agree with. So that if something happened later that I voted no on, that it's like that you supported all of this document here. Like one of the things on here is that didn't make it is to look at shared services. I think it was some legislation that we're seeing. With the governor's proposal, there's an incentive to share services. So if that ends up going through, does council want to re-talk about that and make that a priority? There's no weight to any of our priorities, like in terms of like number 1 through 10. I think that matters when weighing priorities and projects or policies. Because my number 1 priority obviously is going to mean more than me than my number 10. And so if all of council puts a sticker on the same priority, what one's actually the bigger priority? So I just think there needs to be more discussion before I could ever put my name behind it.
Mayor, just an FYI, Josh had to drop.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thank you. So what's the rest of council's feeling on this?
I do like Steve's, idea of having the list prioritized. As he mentioned, you know, it's easier to work on item 1 versus item 10.
I have to agree with that. I feel like this document was a lot, and it needs to be a little condensed down, just like you stated with having those priorities set, because, I mean, to Steve's, Armstrong's point, I don't wanna say, yep, looks great, and then we bring up a certain project, I vote, oh, no, I don't, and they're like you said, well, you voted yes on it. Well, no, I voted yes as a whole, like, can we get that separated?
And how, I'm not disputing any of what you said. How do we get there? I mean, do we do that now? Are you suggesting?
No.
Okay, that's the question. How are you proposing we get there?
I feel like we need to have a work session or study session on, I guess, for me, I feel like we're missing some information, like cost on some of the things to even put them in a priority order. Yeah, we put our names by them, but now to rank them or put a weight on them, we need more information.
Well, I agree with that, Melissa, and I would also say that Jake makes a good point as far as facilities. Do we schedule a study session with this being the only topic? I mean, is that what since you all are saying?
That's something I feel like is an actual good use of a study session.
Yeah, I would agree that, this would be a great studies, session topic. When I was reading through this, what my thoughts was, how I do it at home, right? I have X amount of dollars and then I work off of that, and here it seems like we're taking the list and not knowing what X amount is, so it's tough for me sometimes to, determine what we should work on, because I don't know what we can afford, right?
Right, that was my problem with it. Like, we don't know when we're out of money, and we don't know if we can even afford 2 or 3 or 4. How many projects on this list can we afford, you know? And some of them require debt, and our bonding capacity comes into play on that. And I know we have different levies we can tap into, but you know, it all comes into play there with our bonding capacity.
Found the document
building
hard to follow too.
What was that, Steve?
I found the document hard to follow, like, felt jumbled. It wasn't as clear and concise as I was hoping it would be either.
Can we do that thing? Can we just bring it back for a study session?
Jake, why don't you?
I do want to comment on that. Again, if we look at the top 17, so the top 12 could be the top goals, the number, and 13 through 17 would be secondary goals. It feels that what I'm hearing council say is basically we want to vet through this entire list, put a lot of time and effort into it, then prioritize it. We're going to spend probably a good chunk of 2026 going through that process. We're going to lose probably 6 months of the year when we could actually be working on these items. I'm concerned that if we continue to push this to study sessions and more discussion, we're actually not gonna be able to do any of the work. We're gonna spend all of our time preparing to do the work. And especially when we start talking about something as complicated as facilities, there's a lot that goes into that, right? So we wanna kind of figure out, well, what can we afford? The challenge is all of a sudden, well, then we need to basically design a facility to be able to determine what we can afford, right? We've got to understand magnitude of construction, we've got to understand the facilities and amenities that are available to us. That's a deep dive, and if we wait and say we need all that information before we're gonna prioritize facilities, that essentially is the work of prioritizing the facilities. And it's so likely with a lot of these things that, determining the properties that the city currently owns and can be sold or repurposed, we can start doing those types of things, but if we continue to try to vet through what that looks like and talk about it, we're gonna get into the granular detail to the point where we're just gonna continue to kick the can down the road and not frankly accomplish anything on this list.
So I guess, I just found it hard to follow, so I'm trying to understand. So say we all vote, yep, looks great tonight. So I'm looking at page 2, start to page 2. So we're looking at approving those 12. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, so if you look at page 2 of your document, page 2 and page 3, so the initiatives and programs of 26, so the top 12 are listed there, 1 through 12 on page 2 and page 3. And then that corresponds to Exhibit C in the document that shows exactly how many elected officials voted for those items. So going down the list, 8 elected officials voted for properties the city uses, 7 voted for number 2 through number 4, 6 voted for 5 through 9, 5 members voted for 10 through 12, and that was what the consultant recommended as the cutoff for the top tier priorities. And then from there was 4 members that voted for items 13 through 17 that were a priority from there on. And then once we get below item number 17, we get back to a situation where it was not a majority of council deemed those to be a priority for them.
Okay.
So essentially, it wasn't a majority of council that was interested in pursuing those items.
So I guess my concern then, that makes sense. So we approve those items. I guess my concern is I have not seen, to you guys' point, we haven't seen the details of everything. So if I'm approving this, am I just saying, here's a checkbook, go sign and start all these things? Like, I think that's where the concern is.
No, so at the end of the day, each of these items would have to be budgeted for. You can't just say, I approve, I want us to pursue these items. Now, Jackie and I can just go spend whatever we want to make them happen. With a lot of these, there's a lot of study and there's process and procedure associated with it. Just take the facility plan, for example. We've got 5 different facilities that likely need construction. There's design processes, there's site layouts, there's site design, there's understanding rough magnitude of cost. None of these things happen in a relatively quick amount of time.
No, for sure.
Especially with facilities, when we know that we've agreed to a land swap going on 2 years ago now that put a timeline on how fast we have to be considering what we're gonna do with the library specifically and where we're going to go with that in the future. If we go back to and just, again, really dive into the details of that, our 3 years is gonna be up and we're going to be in a very poor position.
Okay. I just wanted to make it clear. So what we're voting on is just approving to start the not facilitation, but the research of these items. It's not saying, so then once that were to come, then it would bring brought back to
Yep.
council.
Yes, if you were to adopt this
Very clear.
document, what you would be saying is, these are the general priorities of council that supplement our strategic priorities, and then staff will prioritize between 2026 and 7 to advance each of those goals. And of course, there would be regular check-ins with council to update you on our progress. Of course, there would be conversations about any budgetary dollars that would need to be expended to continue to push those goals forward. So
Okay.
it's really just giving high-level direction of how do you want us as staff to spend our time.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I would say it's not fair to say that anything under 12 doesn't have the support of a majority of council. Christina voted right, she's not here. No offense, Mayor, but you don't get a vote, right? So what if number 14 was Bob, Melissa, Josh, and Ron? That's a majority of council, and that had 4 votes.
Councilmember, I'm sorry, to that point, we said we would include up to number 17, because that would be up to the
Okay.
majority.
Okay, that's not what I'd heard, so like, and then, so but then it becomes too, like, the weight. What truly is more important, because even, again, to my point, you have, number 12 has 5 votes, what if that was a Christina vote and a mayor vote, now that's down to 3, right? Like, that's what I'm saying is like, I want more just dialogue to understand what we really are wanting to do. We've got it maybe narrowed down to understand the actual true weight of like I really find this to be more important than something else if I'm gonna sign off.
I will say that, I do remember at that,
I don't know how many, I don't know anybody put their sticker.
yeah, I
barely
will
remember
say
that.
at that meeting though, we did talk about that and we voted on if we were comfortable with them voting and we said yes. So
Correct, that was the point I was gonna make, is council had an opportunity to weigh in if they wanted outgoing Councilmember Beach and Mayor Richardson to vote. That was a clear discussion where everyone agreed, yes, they should.
And their thoughts are appreciated, but when it comes time to vote.
But
they're
here's,
not here to vote.
to your point, there's a lot of things though that you have to understand here too. And then one of those things is that individually, none of you have direction, can give direction to this city. We only do it collectively. Okay? And staff is, our job is to direct staff in the direction we're going. When you set goals, whether it's an athletic team or whether it's any of those kinds of goals, you set priority goals. You don't tell a pitcher how many strikes they have to throw in a ball game. You may get to that point as an individual training session with that person, but you don't get into the nitty gritty, the weeds. You give them a general direction. And what we are doing with these goals is that we are giving them a general direction to say, listen, here's 17 things that you can work on. If you've got the time, the money, and you clear it with us before you get really deep into the weeds on these things, then you can go ahead and do that. But we're giving them goals that are just outlined up above, and they'll fill in the details and bring it back to us for a vote. And then that's the vote that determines whether or not we move forward or we don't move forward with that particular item.
which then, to your point, you would vote, Christina's
Right.
not here,
You're
so
right.
then that would be.
Yeah. which-
And that's your opportunity then to go back and say, this is the priority for me. Then the other 5 council members decide whether or not it's a priority for them as well. But you get down, folks, we've got to give them a general direction, and that's where we're headed here. Because if we try to get into the weeds, as Jake pointed out, we will be the entire year trying to figure out whether or not we've got one goal done. And so keep in mind, and it goes back to our discussion on abatement, none of us can do anything separately. We have to figure out a way to work together to get things done. And sometimes it requires compromise that we don't like. I mean, you don't like those things. But my point is, this is just strategic. This is just a basic level goal setting. And staff will do their job to fill in the details and bring it back to us for those individual votes. Am I incorrect in that?
No, Mayor, you're absolutely correct, and council members, one of the other things I would point out is, just before we had hopped into this meeting, I had looked at, so if we took the top 17, which had, 4 council members prioritizing that item, of those 17, I think it's important to realize that it's not one staff member that does all 17 of those. One of the things I'm very cognizant of is trying to determine how we're, spreading our workload around versus what are things that I need to do individually as a city manager versus what are things that I can delegate to staff as well to assist and take the lead on these things. So of those 17, 4 of those items would fall primarily in the community and economic development realm, which would be assigned to Bryce. And again, these would be 2026 and 2027 goals. So depending on time and capacity, that's 4 goals coming from council that would be assigned to Bryce and his department to advance over the course of the next 2 years. Jackie, maybe not unsurprisingly, has some of the most goals that she would be responsible for, which is 5, right? So again, over the course of the next 2 years, we would be looking at 5 of those that Jackie would take the lead on. Human Resources would have 2, Public Works would have 3. I consider the fee schedule being an everyone project because basically all departments have fees, so that's 1 assigned to everybody. And then for the city manager, myself, there's 2 of them here that I figured I would take the lead on, being facilities would be one of those. So we are still able to take those top 17, we are able to divvy those up among our staff to go ahead and kind of take on and prioritize those. And of course, these are our council goals that feed into what drive our strategic items. We also have operational goals that are kind of behind the scenes, procedural improvements, process improvements that would also supplement these to continue moving the organization and the community forward as well.
I just wanted the clarification on it, now I'm good.
Your vote tonight really is just to say, staff, this is what these are 17 items you need to work on. When you get the details and down in the nitty gritty, that's when you come back to us. That's really all you're saying. You're not voting for each individual item. You're voting as a whole, a totality, and you're telling staff, work on these things, but when you get to the point that we need to make a vote, then bring it back to us.
Right.
See, like it cuts off at 12 though, and then you have your capital improvement is an additional 8.
I
So,
think it's 17, am I incorrect?
I mean, page 2 to 3 ends at 12.
Then we go down to Exhibit C.
And so like that's the problem. It's like,
Oh, and then it's just, okay, I see.
so that's exactly what I brought up of like, it's here, but these other ones could fall into this. What are
So
real
what
priorities?
specifically are you having?
Well, it's just the whole like, well, Christina and your opinions were valuable. At the end of the day, Christina doesn't get a vote anymore and you don't get a vote. In theory, items 13 through 17 could have a majority of council support and other items could fall below that threshold.
But what we're telling staff is, I get what you're saying, but
And so if, like for me, if you were to say, you need to vote on this, I wouldn't vote on this. Because I feel like would be giving direction and voting on a full document of this is what we're doing. And if I don't agree with something, I don't ever want that used against me of like, but you voted for this, you voted for these 12 items, when there's 4 other items below it that very well easily could fall in there. And like I said, one of those items is something directly related to some legislation being proposed by the governor that may easily have more support now that we know that the governor wants to kind of financially incentivize communities for sharing services.
we've done that in the past, Steve. I mean, we've shared services and we've lost the shared services to a certain extent. And we're always looking at opportunities for shared services. I mean, those are conversations that,
But it didn't make the top 12.
but we're talking,
But it's
we're
in
going down to
17.
17, is that
Yeah,
correct?
so it'd be
But the
included.
list on 2 to 3 is through 12. It's 12 items listed.
But I think we're looking at items, Exhibit C, we're looking at items through 17, is that
Correct, and I would go back to page 2, the verbiage there, again, it goes back to the mayor and council identified the following issues as the most urgent or important because they received the most votes, right? There was a
Right.
drop off, up through number 12, there was 5 individuals, elected officials who had said that was a priority to them. Once we moved down to item 13 to 17, there was 4, which is still a majority, depending again on who voted for what, which we do have those written down, yeah, we do have those available. But ultimately, what the consultant recommended is make the top 12 your first tier, make items 13 through 17 your second tier, and then kind of after you get down to only 3 individuals, put prioritizing an item. You know, they are maybe nice to do's, maybe things not to lose sight of, but at the end of the day, realize that they came up as options. And again, we'd also look at that recommendation of revisiting this list annually, which is another recommendation of the consultant. This gives us a starting point, gives staff direction. We always have the opportunity next year to revisit this list, see where we're at. Maybe there's new things that have risen to the top. There's things that will hopefully, very well likely be accomplished at that point or very well progressed. So this isn't a one time and it's done, but it does give staff some direction so that we know over the next foreseeable future where we should be investing our time and resources as opposed to week, month to month, wondering, are we utilizing our time in the interest of the council and the community?
And again, 5 of those could be people who can't vote. 2 people, and you're done.
But at the time that we did this, I do remember.
No, I know, and I'm saying the opinions were valued, but at the end of the day,
But they're not valued now, is what you're saying.
I'm saying the 6 of us have to vote, though.
Sure. But you're not voting on each,
Yeah.
you're not voting into.
I mean, if
all
you
you're
guys
doing
wanna
is
do the
voting in
direction, like, you can, like, I'm fine. I am just making it, again, very clear
Okay.
on how I feel.
But if you vote for against this for one thing, then you're voting against it for all the things that are on here, which I don't think you disagree with and those kinds of things.
But I'm not voting against it for everything. How many times do we hear at like the federal or state level, the legislature come down and they're like, there was 10% of that just really sucked, but I had to like plug my nose and vote for it anyway. And then people go, then get rid of the 10% or don't vote for it.
Well, I think we're getting in the weeds again. It's just a general consent, general thing here. We're going down to 17 is what I hear staff saying. And so if you were, Melissa, you're quiet. What's your thoughts before I say anything else? She's still on?
It's just
I'm
this
here.
document isn't written
Sorry.
in stone, right?
Right.
What's that? What'd you say, Melissa?
We can-
What'd you say, Melissa?
I'm here.
Okay,
Sorry. I appreciate Jake's clarification to what I said earlier. I hear what Councilmember Armstrong is saying. Uh, I guess I'm good with all the explanation and discussion here. So, yeah, I have no other concerns other than that we need to continue to work on this document in a way that we can get it marketed to the community in a way that they understand what it is we're going to be working on.
right, and that's a very good point, and I would say this to you just made a comment that's very valid. It's kind of a living document. It's gonna be changeable, it's gonna be malleable. Those are all things that are really important here too, and it's not set in stone. I think I made that comment earlier, but maybe I didn't, so.
Yeah,
All right.
and also
Go ahead, Melissa.
tout the things that we accomplished.
Yeah,
Mayor, if I may, to Councilmember Stone's point, I know we had briefly hit on this before at other conversations, but I want to reiterate it. The intention is that if council accepts the results of these the goal setting document, we would then take those top 17 and we would actually kind of bullet them into the strategic priorities to show that the kind of whichever one they fall best under, these are the more tangible goals and objectives we're working on to kind of promote those pillars. So essentially, we would be utilizing those strategic priorities that have been previously worked on and accepted by council that were to live from 2024 to 2027. These goals would then be sub-bullets to them, essentially saying these are the ways that we are going to further those strategic pillars. So to Councilmember Stone's point, when we talk about marketing, that would be our way to show that we're just going to basically update that document and show tangible examples of how we will further the pillars.
We can get into the weeds after, because I like weeds.
we need a motion to approve if that's where we're at.
Moved.
A motion to, second,
It's just direction.
it's just direction. Well,
I think it says direction and action.
Direction, possible action.
and the action is to approve the document, right? Okay. Got a motion to second? Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
No.
Davis?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, all right. We're on to city manager's report, Jake.
Yes. All right, first item up is animal control. The city's agreement with Kayakota will conclude at the end of this month. We are now marking the full transition to Animal Rescue League and are using them as our provider for animal control services. Police staff have been undergoing proper animal handling training provided to us by ARL. Information about this transition and animal control procedures are being promoted on the city website and social media. There was a city social media post that went out today. If members of the public go to our news flash, which is the primary tracker along the bottom, there'll be a link on animal control. And then Chief Hawkins and Aaron have actually worked together and created a full animal control webpage on the city website. So if folks are curious what to do now after the 1st of February and they kind of see those stray animals out and about, there is good guidance available on the website. As I mentioned, we've pushed that out on social media, on the website. We'll continue to put that out to the community to make folks aware of the new procedures for animal control. Speaking of the website, we are currently undergoing and nearing the finalization of our website redesign. We anticipate launching the redesigned city website in early February. I want to give a shout out and a big thank you to Communications Manager Aaron Young, as well as some of the other staff members he's enlisted to help lead that initiative and update critical components of our webpage. Last item I have is just a reminder about the Library Super Bowl program throughout the course of January. The Super Bowl is in full swing, offering free soup every Friday in January from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This annual event brings the community together to enjoy a warm meal and make new connections. We're seeing wonderful attendance this year, so if you would like to stop by and grab a bowl, I would certainly encourage it. I'd also encourage anyone who is interested in participating in the sense of making a soup. We are very much in need of additional meals, so I would encourage folks that are interested to check out the city website and participate in that, as we've got a little bit of time left yet this month.
Done 3 of them. Well, we'll be doing 3 of them too. I've done 2, I'll be 3 next month, Friday.
That'll work for lunch hour.
Huh?
That'll for lunch hour.
It's from 11 to 2, I believe. Is that correct, Jake? Is that
11 to 2, yep,
Yeah,
11 a.m.
you
to
need
2
to have
p.m.
your soups there by 11 and you pick them up by 2, so anything left. Usually there's nothing left, but that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Plus for me.
Okay, discussion direction on any future agenda items.
I was just gonna bring up my last one. Do we have any movement on like contracts and what I had mentioned on that? If that was something that we could bring up?
We didn't do contracts this past year, I don't believe, for our outside agencies. We would just have, what we funded them in the budget process.
Okay, so there's no like formal contracts out there?
Not for the outside agencies we have funded previously. That is something we certainly will look to change going forward because like any grant process, it's good to have parameters in place and expectations set. So that'll be something we'll be looking to change, moving forward.
What else? Thank you.
Somewhere along the line, as we get more data on, to Tiffany's point earlier tonight, fuel update, can we just kind of get an idea of we spending more, we probably are gonna spend more, maybe, I don't know, but time you figure in all the time and effort and everything that goes along with that. Maybe somewhere along the line, just get a fuel update. And then my other thought on that would be, as we move full into ARL, kind of get, a couple months under our belt and figure out where we are on that, so. You could put it in the community, in the connection, I guess, I don't know if it has to be an actual update for the council here, but. Okay. Anything else, folks? Okay, with that said, item B then, our other business is enter into a closed session in accordance with Iowa Code Section 2151I to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation. That individual requests a closed session. So I need a motion and a second to move into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Davis? Aye. Jones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll take about a 5-minute break here.